everybody. So today we're going to be going through an upper body mobility session focused on shoulder extension. So shoulder extension is our ability to extend the arm either with a bent elbow or with straight arms. These are movements which help support exercises such as bench press, variations of the dip, or the other movements where we need to be able to pull those elbows behind us. Today's class, what you'll be needing is a box or a surface of similar height, can also be higher than this, like a counter table or countertop. The intention is we're going to use this exercise or this setup to bring us into a bent arm shoulder extension stretch. So I generally find something around this height or higher works quite well for the setup I'm going to introduce. We'll also be needing a stick for one of our exercises, and optional will be 2 yoga blocks for one exercise but not essential, and also 2 tennis balls which I'll be using in the warm-up and for a few exercises just for building better tension. Besides that, you don't need anything else, and what we'll do to begin with is go through upper body CARs. You can begin and do these exercises either in a kneeling position, standing or seated as well, whatever suits you for this. So to begin with, follow along with me. I want you to have the arms by the sides. If you have tennis balls, you can use them. If not, make a fist, and from here, squeeze and build tension through the fist, up into the forearms, shoulders, chest, back, down into the abs, lower body side as well, and then begin with the neck. So we're going to tuck our chin towards our chest, and from there, we're going to rotate to one side, and side bend by dropping the ear down. From here, I then extend back, which permits me to rotate across to the other side, slowly going around back to the start with the chin tucked, and then I change direction. As we go through the movement, we want to do our best to disassociate this joint movement from everything else. So from neck below, we want to keep as still as possible. Try to keep the shoulder blades pinned down. Try to not let the spine rotate whatsoever. Everything is coming from neck movements. And finish up on that method there. For the spine in this position, we're going to cross the arms, and then we're going to segmentally flex the spine. Once I finish segmentally flexing, I'm then going to rotate to one side. From rotation, I then side bend by dropping the shoulder down, and then I extend back segmentally, and then trying to hold onto as much extension as I can, and rotate across slowly, and then bringing myself back around to the start, back into flexion, and then I reverse direction. Rotate the other way, side bend, extend back segmentally, and then rotate across, continuing back and forth with the movements, trying to expand on each aspect of this movement without compensating from anywhere else. So still trying to keep the lower body tight, trying to not let any movement come from the lower body as I go through this. And finish up on that note. Okay, so I'm going to come to a tall kneeling position for this one. Arms are going to be by my side, and I'm going to go through scapular CARs. So to begin with, again keeping a good brace, I elevate the shoulder blades, so I lift the shoulders up towards my ears, then I slide them back, and then slide them down, and forwards. I'm going to continue in that direction, keeping my attention on what's happening with the rest of the body, keeping everything else still, trying to not move the head forwards or backwards, trying to keep the spine still, and just try to draw the biggest circular movement you can with those shoulder blades. Really focus on hitting the outer corners as you're transitioning from position to position and change direction. Again, as I elevate the shoulders and I bring them forward, I try to keep them high. As I drop them down, I'm still trying to send them forwards. As I pull them back, I'm still pulling them down. As I lift them up, I'm still pulling them back. And that permits me to be able to really get all the outer corners as I draw this circular movement. And finish up on that rep there. Good. Now for glenohumeral, we're going to start with the arm adductor to the side and the shoulder externally rotated as so I have the palm facing forwards. From here, I'm going to bring the arm into my overhead position. And then from here, I'll internally rotate the shoulder as best as I can. Send the arm back, continuing to internally rotate. Continuing to internally rotate. Meanwhile, I'm trying to keep everything as still as possible. Now this part is the main focus of today's class, so I want you to bring your focus to not just moving your arm in space, but also registering what you're having to contract, to lift the arm as you then bring it into extension. So I'm holding on to internal rotation as I extend the arm behind me. I'm trying to feel the back of the arm, tricep back the shoulder as I contract it to lift the arm up. When I hit my blocking point, I rotate the other way to then bring the arm back out and around into my overhead position and back across, blowing back down to the start. And then I repeat. And then I want you to begin to sharpen your attention to how those sensations feel as you go through the movement. How does it feel as you lift the arm into overhead position? How does it feel as you internally rotate the shoulder and continue to internally rotate the shoulder as you send the arm behind you into this extended position? How does it feel when you lift the arm behind you? How does that range of motion feel? How does the control feel? The strength? Do you feel like you have a good mind-muscle connection of what you're trying to engage or contract to create these movements? If you don't, that's fine. Maybe that's something that will change later on as we go through the class. And finish up on that rep, and then we're going to switch sides. So, adductor arm to the side. Externally rotate the shoulder, making sure I keep a good brace with the rest of the body. I begin to bring my arm into my overhead position. Internally rotate the shoulder as best as you can. Send the arm back, continuing that journey. Once again, bringing my attention to the sensations that I'm feeling as I go through movements. Making a mental note of how the range feels, how the transitions feel. If there's any areas where I feel slightly lost in control, in strength. You might also notice there's certain areas where you might struggle to keep control and move slow and control, and you're trying to go through it quite fast. I ask you slow that down a little bit and try to match it with the same speed as the rest of your movement. Really tune into when you extend the arm behind you, how that feels, and even in comparison to the other side that you just moved. Meanwhile, doing my best to avoid compensating from the rest of the body. Trying to minimize any elbow bending, trying to minimize movement of the head, keeping the torso as still as possible, not rotating to the side, not tilting forwards as I extend my arm behind myself. Good, and I want you now to finish up on that rep for me, guys. In this position, elbows, I'm going to have my elbows by my side. From here, I am going to start in a supinated position, and I'm going to flex the elbows. And I want to imagine I'm pushing through slightly denser air. I'm having to create more tension to push through that dense air and make it more of an effort. When I finish with flexion, I pronate as best as I can, and then I extend. And as I extend, I'm continuing to try to pronate, continuing to pronate throughout the whole movement. I finish an extension, repeat. So supinate, trying to keep my elbow pits in the same position. Right, for more supination as you go through the movement, and reverse. Pronate, extend, continuing to pronate, continuing to pronate. And holding that position there, we'll reverse here. So holding pronation, flex. Then supinate, extend. And now once more, pronate, flex. Good. And supinate to the top again. And extend. Now for the wrists, you're going to have the elbows by your side with the arms bent, as so. You want to imagine that from here, so beyond the wrist, up the arm to the elbow, up the shoulder, does not move. We're going to do 3 to 4 circles of wrist cars in one direction, and 3 to 4 circles in the other direction. Once again, try not to let elbow rotation or shoulder rotation get involved with your wrist movements. So I've got a little bit of tension and begin in one direction to slowly draw the largest circular motion you can with the wrist. Trying to not let anything else come along for the moment. And change direction if you haven't changed direction. Good. Alright. Right guys, the next exercise is going to be our PAILs and rails set up for shoulder extension. This is where you're going to need your box or a counter surface. You can also use a squat rack. I find works quite well for this exercise. The intent of this exercise is really to offer you an opportunity to decide how far you work into shoulder extension. That allows you to still feel what we are trying to train today. So what you're looking for in terms of a stretch sensation is going to be on the front of the shoulder and also possibly the bicep region. How we're going to actually get our way into this stretch is eccentrically. So this is how you're going to be able to determine for yourself where your stopping point is as you load yourself into this particular stretch. I find generally with a lot of people I've worked with, there comes a point as they're loading shoulder extension where all of a sudden there's a massive drop off in either mind-muscle connection, drop off in control, strength, and it just doesn't feel effective as a stretch or as an exercise. So creating a little isometric effort to eccentrically load ourselves into this stretch is what's going to help us keep a connection with the sensation of what we're trying to use as we load into this stretch. Now, in terms of variables, the first one you can adjust is hand position. You can have your hands that are put down here on the edge of the box. You could also go into fists. You could even have their hands turned out as so, or even reversed in this position. There's many variables you can play with hand placements. To load the stretch, what you're going to think is you're going to create an isometric effort as if you were in the bottom of a dip and you're trying to push yourself back out. Okay, so I'm going to push down against the box as if I was trying to push myself out of the bottom of the dip position. And it's a gentle effort. So I sit at the edge of the box. I from here create a mild effort of pushing down into the box, and then I begin to lower myself into that dip fashion. So I'm bending the elbows. I'm keeping somewhat tall as I slowly lower down. And for myself, to give you an example, I start to feel a good stretch on the front of the shoulder region and bicep. I can still lower and have a good stretch sensation without excessively compensating. However, there's a certain point where if I start to continue, which is about here, I start to lose that sensation of the stretch. I lose a bit of the control and registration of what I'm feeling. And I can actually go a lot further, so I can sink down a lot more. However, when I get to about here, I've lost quite a bit of my stretch. I do not want you to go that far. I want you to actually go to a point where you still feel you have a good sensation on what's being stretched, and to that point where you feel there starts to be a slight drop off in the mind-muscle connection, a slight drop off in strength or feeling overall of this area that's being put on stretch as we lower into it. I will say the other variable, as you're lowering down, is just be mindful of elbow position. So as you're going down, you could send the elbows forwards a little bit more, or back a little bit more, or even to the side slightly, which will adjust how much weight you put and angle you place on both shoulders. So these are things to be mindful as you load into the stretch. You might find that when you start to lose a sensation, it could be because you change something with elbow position. Could also be, which I want you to be mindful of, what happens with the shoulder blades. Try to avoid letting the shoulder blades hike up in towards the ears and into the neck as so. We want to try and keep the shoulder blades somewhat pressed down. They will come up along with shoulder extension, but we don't want an excessive punching forwards and excessive rounding of the back as we lower ourselves down. So keep somewhat upright, but you can play a little bit with your angle at the same time. At the end of the day, what's important is you find a good stretch sensation on the front of the shoulders. So what I want you to do now is lower yourself down with that mild effort of pushing into the box, and then when you find that area where you start to feel a slight drop off in sensation, stop and hold that position. Just try to hold that position as I explain you the PAILs and rails for the setup. So while you're here, your PAILs is to push down against the box as if you're pushing out of that dip. So without actually coming out of position, the effort would be to push down as if you're trying to push yourself back up. Rails will be the opposite. So you'll be in that position and you try to lift the hands or arms away from the box. You're trying to promote more shoulder extension, but try to avoid extending from the shoulder by, again, getting it from shoulder blade movement and lifting the shoulder blade up towards your neck and ears. You want to try and think more, pull the elbow back and up, rather than lifting the whole shoulder as one unit. Try your best to really just focus on pulling that elbow back and up, keeping the shoulder blade somewhat pinned down to help minimize that excessive compensation. You may find when you try to create a rails effort, your arms will not come off the box. That's fine. What I like to say is imagine the scale underneath your hands. You want for the rails effort, the scale under your hands to read 0. So I'll guide us through it. What I want you to begin with is just taking a nice deep breath in, and from there, take a good brace. So make sure you've got a good amount of tension into the upper body, into the arms, chest and back. The legs are also tight. And following with me, I want you to begin to drive the arms down into the box with 20% of your effort. Think about contracting the area you feel on stretch to the front of the shoulders, and we want to use that to create this isometric effort as we build up. Now slowly ramp up to 40, not just jumping, but slowly going to 21, 22, 23. Try to feel how it is as you build up those efforts. Now we'll build up to 60, and what I will say as we're building up is if you feel there's a certain drop off in control, strength, connection with what you're using, then stop there at that effort and hold for the remaining time. 80%. just from driving down into the box via shoulder extension. And now safest greatest effort and hold that effort. Try to keep the same consistent effort throughout. Try not to disengage from what you're using to create this PAILs effort. Stay with me for another 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rail. So now you're trying to lift the elbows up, trying to promote more shoulder extension. Most likely you find the arms won't leave the box. That's fine. Just give it your best. Try and squeeze back of the arm, tricep region, back of shoulder to create that effort of shoulder extension. Give it your best. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Soften, do not come out of position. Let's see if you can just sink slightly deeper into the stretch for me. And we're going to hold this effort. A few slow breaths in, slow breaths out. Just calm the nervous system while we hold this passive stretch. And now when you're ready, slowly come out. Okay guys, so our next exercise is going to be a eccentric. So just how you lower yourself to find a stretch by creating that mild effort of PAILs contracting into the box as you lower down to find the stretch is the same as you're going to do for this exercise. So from here I create a PAILs effort. I want you to build slightly higher than previously. And holding that effort, you're then going to slowly lower yourself down, trying to keep hold of that stretch sensation. How much you lower depends on your tolerance. I want you to work through the stretch, but not too far beyond the point where you lose the sensation of feeling the front of the shoulder regions. So if it's about here you start to lose it, try not to go too further. Okay? How this is going to work is we're going to perform 5 reps. I want you to think each rep, roughly 5 to 7 seconds. Keep it slow and controlled so that you can keep a good feeling of what you're having to use as you go through the movement and how that changes as well. You may find as you go deeper into the position, you start to lose sensation, you lose strength, you lose control. So keep it slow for you to be able to register all these things happening. I want it to be 5 reps. In terms of intensity, choose how much effort you're driving into the box. If it's the first time doing this class, I suggest adding just a little bit more than what we've worked with, and then on subsequent classes, you can increase the effort based on how you feel, what you need, and how much of a training stimulus you want to make this. It's going to be 5 reps, and then on your 5th rep, I want you to hold it in the bottom of the position for 15 seconds. So your pace won't match exactly the same as mine, but aim to make each rep roughly 5 to 7 seconds. And on each rep, try to go a little bit further, but without compromisation of a big drop off in strength, control, or feeling of what you're using as you go through the movement. So we'll begin. Take this position again. Make sure you take a good breath in. Pack it down. Good upper body brace, lower body brace as well. Begin to drive into the box and then lower yourself down in that dip fashion. As you lower yourself down, all the same variables apply with elbow position. You can play with the elbow angle. You can play with leaning forwards a little bit if you find that helps. Work into your stretch tolerance. And then when you get to the end, use your legs to assist in coming back up. As you're going through the movement, if you feel there's a rep that you went through and just didn't feel as efficient, you didn't get much out of it, just adjust a little bit on the next rep, play a little bit maybe with the elbow angle, Lean forwards a bit more, lean back a little bit more. Also, be mindful with this exercise what's happening with the shoulder blades. As I explained earlier, I find a lot of people have a hard time connecting shoulder extension sensations because when they extend the shoulder blade also comes along for the right a little too much, and it makes it hard to differentiate the feeling of true shoulder extension. I'm getting to my last rep now. So this rep is the one I'm going to hold for 15 seconds. I want that I can still feel the isometric contraction that I'm driving into the box as I hold that 15-second effort. So it's not a passive hold, it's an active hold, but I'm still pushing down. 10 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and slowly come out of it. Right, so our next exercise, you can do standing, you can do kneeling. If you have tennis balls, you can also use that. How this exercise is going to work is we are going to be in this position, it's almost like the bottom of a push-up, and we're going to extend the shoulders and then hold that position. From this position, we then extend the elbows, hold for 5 seconds, and then flex the elbows and repeat. Extend, hold for 5 seconds, flex, repeat. This is going to be 5 reps of 5-second holds. I want your focus to be on not losing shoulder extension. So as you fatigue, you may notice the elbows start to drop down, and we want to try not to let that happen. So keep the shoulder blades pulled back, keep the shoulders extended, and do your best to pull these elbows behind as you go through the movements. Meanwhile, trying to avoid excessive compensation. Common compensation with this one will be pushing the head forwards and even rounding the back, falling forwards. So try to stay tall and maintain the structure you start the exercise with from start to finish. Okay, if you have tennis balls, you can use them for radiation. From here, build tension with brace, pull the shoulders into extension, and then extend the elbows. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Flex and extend. 5, 4, 3, 2, 2. Flex and extend. 5, 4, 3, 2, 3. Flex and extend. 5, 4, 3, 2, 4. Flex and extend. 5, 4, 3, 2, 5. Good. Right, so have a little break. We are going to repeat that sequence starting with the PAILs and rails shoulder extension setup. Now that you've done a set and you had a feeling of where your shoulder extension was, where you probably felt a drop off in the sensations as you went through your shoulder extension, now I give you the freedom to kind of explore a little bit more. If you found you could have probably gone a little deeper into the stretch and performed well there, by all means do so. If you found maybe the opposite and you probably went a little too deep and you lost a bit of that feeling of what you're trying to use for your PAILs, for your rails contraction, maybe come out of the position a little bit more away from your end range and try your set there and see how that goes. So play a little bit, you can even play with changing hand position for the setup and seeing if that gives you a better stimulus for this exercise. It's not right or wrong, it's more just about you finding the setup and adjustments that suit you to get the best out of this particular exercise. So going back to the PAILs and rails, what we're going to do is lower ourselves again into the shoulder extension position, creating a little isometric effort to keep that tension as we sink into it. When we get into the position, we're going to hold the passive stretch for about 30 seconds before we build up our PAILs contraction and our PAILs contraction. So, beginning now, if you create a little isometric effort of driving into the box, keeping a good weight in the rest of the body, begin to lower yourself down, and you stop where you're happy to stop for this set. Still try to keep a good connection with what we're training. And in that position, holding it, just working, bringing my attention to the breath. Try to find a nice, calm breathing pace for myself. That helps me calm down the nervous system so I can relax as best as possible in this position. I'm also trying to hold on to that stretch. Okay. Take a good deep breath in for me. Spread that tension into the rest of the body. So upper body tight, the lower body tight. PAILs contraction, driving in and down to the box. I'm trying to push myself out of a bit position for 20%. Slowly loading up to 40. Once again. And the last set, if you found you could have done a little bit higher intensities, then build up a little bit more as we go through this. If it was the opposite, then reduce a little bit as we build. 60%. 80%. Check in with yourself, make sure you've got tension in the rest of the body matching that effort. Safest, greatest effort, and hold. Try and keep that same intensity of driving down for the PAILs contraction. Another 15 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and rail. So try and pull the arm into shoulder extension. Squeeze triceps back the shoulders to create that effort. Give it your best. Try not to let anything else change in the body. For 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax that effort. Try to sink a little bit deeper into the passive stretch. You may need to still hold on to a little bit of that isometric effort, pushing down into the box to feel that stretch. And then just hold for a couple of deep breaths in, slow breaths out. And then when you're ready, slowly come out of position. Good. For the second exercise, returning back to the eccentric, same principle applies. You might have found that you could go a little further into the stretch or into your end range of motion. That's fine by me. You will probably find that going through this the second time around, you do have a little bit more mobility and things have opened up. So by all means, as long as you can still feel everything that's being trained and what we're trying to train, work through the stretch into your tolerance as much as you please, but provided you don't all of a sudden have a sudden drop off in strength control as you go through it. Same as before, 5 reps, and then on that 5th rep, we're going to hold for 15 seconds. So, set up again, choose the intensity of how much you drive into the box, and then eccentrically load by lowering yourself down in that dip fashion. Try to maintain the same isometric effort that you draw down into the box with as you go through. And for roughly 5 to 7 seconds, lower up. Use the legs to help reset and come back up to the start. Remember to keep a nice, slow and controlled pace, a pace that allows you to keep good connection with everything you're doing. And always think as well, you use what you feel is being stretched to contract, create this effort of driving down last rep, hold for 15 seconds. So I'm holding this position now. Trying to still keep a bit of that isometric effort driving down into the rocks, keeping the tension, maintain an active position for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly come out of position. And then moving on to our final exercise for this sequence. So again, if you have the tennis balls, pick them up. Arms by the sides. From here, extend the shoulders, pull the elbows back as best as we can. Holding that position, now extend the elbows and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Flex and extend. 5, 4, 3, 2, 2. Flex and extend. 5, 4, 3, 2, 4. Flex and extend. 5, 4, 3, 2, 5. And rest there. Okay, everyone. So we're just going to finish off with returning back to our glenohumeral CARs. And this is going to be a 90-second effort. So you're going to go through glenohumeral CARs. I want you to think of this as a retest, but you can also treat this as a training stimulus as well. So now that you've warmed up, you've opened up various new ranges of motion, you can create more of a strength training stimulus by how much you create an isometric contraction, how much you tense up as you go through the movement. It is for 90 seconds, so find an intensity which you can sustain the 90 seconds for. Alternatively, another way I like to do it is for your first rep, roughly 30%, second rep, 60%, third rep, 90%, and just build up like that for the remaining time. And just assess as well how it feels as you change tensions. So, we'll go through the movement now. Arms are by the side. I adduct the shoulder to the side, and then from here with the shoulder externally rotated, I begin to go through the movement. Arm goes into the overhead position. I internally rotate the shoulder, and I send the arm back, continuing to internally rotate. And then I rewind. And once again, sharpen your attention to how those sensations feel as you go through that portion of the movement. How does it feel as you contract the back of the arm, back of the shoulder to extend the shoulder? How does it feel to when you started to now? Maybe you notice an increase of range of motion. Maybe you notice you have a little bit more control. You can feel more what's going on, a better mind-muscle connection. Maybe at the beginning you didn't feel much, and now you do have a better understanding of what you should be using for creating shoulder extension. And that is good. So a little bit longer. 20 more seconds. Still trying to expand the range of motion. Try to increase that range, hit the outer limits throughout every aspect of the movement. And finish up on that rep. And switch sides. Keeping tension. If you are starting with the first rep at 30, and then slowly building up, once again, just checking and see how things feel throughout the whole movement. So that second part of the movement that we really trained. So really tune into that part as well. Do you have a better connection of shoulder extension? Does it feel slightly easier? You feel like you can maybe produce a little bit more force now? best to not compensate with the rest of the body. As I lift my arm up, I'm not pushing my head forwards. As I internally rotate the shoulder and send the arm back into internal rotation, I'm not rotating with the torso to create that effort. And as I extend the arm back, I'm not pushing my head forwards, I'm not rounding the spine to create that effort. Trying to keep the rest of the body still. Stay with it 20 more seconds. Finish up on the rep that you want. Excellent. We will wrap it up there, guys. Thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed today's class. Feel free to leave a comment on how you found it. I'll be more than happy to get back to you as well.